Alright, you guys, welcome back to the Sex and the City book reading series here on Charlie's Universe, you guys. I just read chapter 1. If you want to figure out what would happen in chapter 1, go back a video. You'll see it. Alright, this is chapter 2, and this is called Swinging Sex. I don't think so. It all started the way it always does. Innocently enough, I was sitting in my apartment, having a sensible lunch of crackers and sardines when I got a call from an acquaintance. A friend of his had just gone to Le Trapeze, a couples-only sex club, and was amazed, blown away. There were people naked, having sex, right in front of them, unlike S&M bars, where no actual sex occurs. This was the real juicy tomato. The guy's girlfriend was kind of freaked out, although when another naked woman brushed against her, she sort of liked it, according to him. In fact, the guy was so into the place that he didn't want me to write about it because he was afraid that, like most decent places in New York, it would be ruined by publicity. I started imagining all sorts of things. Beautiful young hard-bodied couples, shy touching, girls with long wavy blonde hair wearing wreaths made of grape leaves, boys with perfect white teeth wearing loincloths made of grape leaves. Me, wearing a super short, over one shoulder, grape leaf dress. We would walk in with our clothes and walk out and light it. The club's answering machine brought me back to reality with a thump. At La Trapeze, there are no strangers, only friends you haven't met yet, said a voice in indeterminate gender, which added that there was a juice bar and a hot, cold buffet. Things I rarely associate with sex or nudity. In celebration of Thanksgiving, Oriental Night would be held on November 19th. That sounded interesting, except it turned out that Oriental Night meant Oriental food, not Oriental people. I should have dropped the whole idea right then. I should have listened to the scarcely horny Sally Tisdale, who in her yuppie porn book, Talk Dirty to Me, enthuses about public group sex. This is so taboo in the true sense of the word. If sex clubs do what they aim to do, then a falling away will happen. Yes, as is feared, a crumbling of boundaries. The center will not hold. I should have asked myself, what's fun about that? But I had to see for myself. And so, on a recent Wednesday night, my calendar listed 2 events. 9 p.m. dinner for the fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld, Boulerie Bar, 11:30, La Trapeze Sex Club, East 27th Street. Messy woman, knee socks. Everyone, it seems, likes to talk about sex, and the Karl Lagerfeld dinner, packed with glam models and expense-accounted fashion editors, were no exception. In fact, it got our end of the table worked into a near frenzy. One stunning young woman with dark curly hair and the sort of seen-it-all attitude that only 20-year-olds can pull off claims she liked to spend her time going to topless bars, but only seedy ones like Billy's Topless, because the girls were real. Then everyone agreed that small breasts were better than fake breasts, and a survey was taken. Who among the men at the table had actually been with a woman who had silicone implants? While no one admitted it, one man, an artist in his mid-30s, didn't deny it strongly enough. You've been there, accused another man, a turd-faced and very successful hotelier. And the worst thing is, you liked it. No, I didn't, the artist protested, but I didn't mind it. Luckily, the first course arrived, and everyone filled up their wine glasses. Next round, are messy women better in bed? The hotelier had a theory. If you walk into a woman's apartment and nothing's out of place, you know she's not going to want to stay in bed all day and order in Chinese food and eat it in bed. She's going to make you get up and eat toast at the kitchen table. I wasn't quite sure how to respond to this, because I'm literally the messiest person in the world, and I probably have some old containers of General Tao's special chicken lying under my bed at this moment. Unfortunately, all of it was eaten alone. So much for that theory. Steaks were served. The thing that really drives me crazy, said the artist, is when I see a woman wearing one of those tartan skirts and high knee socks. I can't work all day. No? Countered the hotelier. The worst thing is when you sort of follow a woman down the street and she turns around and she is as beautiful as you thought when she was going to be. It represents everything you'll never have in your life. The artist leaned forward. I once stopped working for 5 years because of a woman, he said. Silence. No one could top that. The chocolate mousse arrived, and so did my date for Le Trapeze. Since Le Trapeze admits couples only, meaning a man and a woman, I had asked my most recent ex-date, Sam, an investment banker, to accompany me. Sam was a good choice because, number one, he was the only man I can get to go with me. Number two, he had already experienced this kind of thing. A million years ago, he had gone to Plateau's retreat. A strange woman had come up to him and pulled out his unmentionable. His girlfriend, whose idea had been to go there, ran screaming from the club. The talk turned into the inevitable. What kind of people go to a sex club? I seemed to be the only one who didn't have a clue. Although no one had been to a sex club, everyone at dinner firmly asserted that the club-goers would generally be losers from New Jersey. Someone pointed out that going to a sex club is not the kind of thing you can just do without a pretty good excuse. It's part of your job. This talk wasn't make me feel any better. I asked the waiter to bring me a shot of tequila. Sam and I stood up to go. A writer who covers purple culture gave us the last piece of advice. It's going to be pretty awful, he warned, though he had never been to such a place to himself. Unless you take control, you've got to take control of the place. You've got to make it happen. Night of the Sex Zombies. The Trapeze was located in a white stone building covered with graffiti. The entrance was discreet, with a rounded metal railing, a down-market version of the entrance to the Royalton Hotel. A couple was coming out as we were going in, and when the woman saw us, she covered her face with the collar of her coat. Is it fun? I asked. She looked at me in horror and ran into a taxi. Inside, a dark-haired young man wearing a stripped rugby shirt was sitting in a small booth. He looked like he was about 18. He didn't look up. Do we pay you? It's $85 a couple. Do you take credit cards? Cash only? Can I have a receipt? No. We had to sign cards saying that we'd abide by the rules of safe sex. We got temporary membership cards, which reminded us that no prostitution, no cameras, and no recording devices were allowed inside. While I was expecting steamy sex, the first thing we saw were steaming tables. The aforementioned hot and cold buffet. Nobody was eating, and there was a sign above the buffet table that said, "You must have your lower torso covered to eat." Then we saw the manager, Bob, a burly, bearded man in a plaid shirt and jeans who looked like he should have been managing a picturesque store in Vermont. Bob told us the club had survived for 15 years because of its discretion. Also, he said, here, no means no. He told us not to be worried about being voyeurs, that most people start off that way. What did we see? Well, there was a big room with a huge air mattress upon which a few bobbly couples gamely went in at it. There was a sex chair unoccupied that looked like a spider. There was a chubby woman in a robe sitting next to a jacuzzi smoking. There were couples with glazed eyes. Night of the living sex zombies, I thought. And there were many men who appeared to be having trouble keeping their end of the bargain. But mostly, there were those damn steaming buffet tables containing, what, many hot dogs? And unfortunately, that's pretty much all you need to know. La Trapeze was, as the French said, le rip-off. By 1 a.m., people were going home. A woman in a robe informed us she was from Noosa County and said we should come back Saturday night. Saturday night, the woman said. It's a smorgasbord. I didn't think if she was talking about the clientele. I was afraid she meant the buffet. Talking dirty at Mortimer's. A couple of days later, I was at a ladies' lunch at Mortimer's. Once again, she talked to sex and my experiences at the sex club. Didn't you love it? Asked Charlotte, the English journalist. I'd love to go to a place like that. Didn't it turn you on, watching all those people having sex? Nope, I said, stuffing my mouth with the corn fritter topped with salmon eggs. Why not? You couldn't really see anything, I explained. And the men? That was the worst part, I said. Half of them looked like shrinks. I'll never be able to go to therapy again without imagining a bearded fat man lying naked and glassy-eyed on a mat on the floor, getting an hour-long blowjob, and still not being able to come. Yes, I told Charlotte. We did take our clothes off, but we wore towels. No, we didn't have sex. No, I didn't get turned on. Even when a tall, attractive, dark-haired woman in her mid-30s entered the rumpus room and caused a stir. She exposed her bottom like a monkey, and within minutes she was lost in the tangle of arms and legs. It should have been sexy, but all I could think about were those National Geographic nature films of mating baboons. The truth is, exhibition and voyeurism are not mainstream events, and neither for that matter is S&M, despite what you may have recently read elsewhere. The problem, in the clubs anyway, always comes down to the people. They're the actresses who can never find work, the failed opera singers, painters, and writers, the lower management men who will never get to the middle. People who, should they corner you in a bar, will keep you hostage with tales of their ex-spouses and their disgustive troubles. They're the people who can't negotiate the system. They are on the fringes, sexually and in life. They're not necessarily the people whom you want to share your intimate fantasies. Well, the people at La Trapeze weren't all pale, pudgy sex zombies. Before we left the club, Sam and I ran into the attention-grabbing tall woman and her date in the locker room. The man had a clean-cut, all-American face and was talkative. He was from Manhattan, he said, and had recently started his own business. He and the woman had been colleagues, he said. Colleagues, he said. As the woman slipped into a yellow business suit, the man smiled and said, "She's fulfilled her fantasy tonight." The woman glared at him and stalked out of the locker room. A few days later, Sam called and I screamed at him. Then he asked, hadn't the whole thing been my idea? Then he asked, hadn't I learned anything? And I said yes, I had. I told him I had learned that when it comes to sex, there's no place like home. But then you knew that, didn't you? Didn't you, Sam? Alright, you guys, that is the end of Chapter 2 of the Sex and the City series. So, this book, for me, so far, is already perfect because it's actually, telling a story and there's characters. Like I said, this Titanic book that I started to read tonight, I was just making, pre-recordings to it, and it literally took me 30 minutes to get through half of one chapter. Which means that if I were to upload videos, I'd have to split just one chapter into 4 different videos. That's too much work. To where I can literally at least read one whole chapter out of this book for 20 minutes. See what I'm saying? So it just made more sense. So you guys, if you are interested in the Sex and the City book reading, thumbs up the video, comment, let me know what you think. Alright, you guys, that's going to be it for now. Stay on the lookout for more Sex and the City chapters. And holla back.